And we're live. Hello, Rebels. Garrett Robinson here, independent author of the Realm Keeper series, the upcoming novel Rebel Yell, which comes out on August 15th, the Touch Trilogy, Non-Zombie, Hit Girls, and the Ninja Bread Man. All of my books are available on Amazon, as well as Kobo, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, and, pretty much everywhere that you can buy ebooks. This is my show VlogaNovel, where I live create the next book that I'm writing, whatever that book might be. I am currently live writing the second episode of my Nightblade heroic fantasy serial, which is basically a new episode comes out every Friday at noon Pacific Standard Time. This is the second episode in the series. The first episode just came out on Friday, just a few days ago. It's technically Monday now, so 3 days ago, I guess. Yeah, we're in the outlining process of the book in preparation for writing the first draft and editing. I basically do all of the creation live on the air. You get to find out cool behind the scenes stuff, a lot of things that won't even necessarily make it into the book itself, a lot of backstory and things about the characters and why I do certain things and the way I write and create the book. So hopefully that's interesting. Some of you have been watching. I've been getting the views on this show have been increasing, not necessarily the number of live viewers, but the people who watch it after it's been posted. So that's kind of cool. I guess some people are at least somewhat interested in the process and everything, so thank you for that. Couple things to know. You can pre-order this book. It is in the blue section of the screen, right down there below my face. Pre-order now at garrettbrobinson.com/nb-2. If you didn't see that in the blue section down there. And the first episode, which you won't understand the second episode unless you read the first episode. First episode link also down there in the blue section of the screen, garrettbrobinson.com/nb-1. And you can pre-order it there directly from me. It's only 99 cents wherever you get it, from me or from Amazon. But if you pre-order directly from me, I get a much larger portion of the sale, and you get the Mobi file and the EPUB file, so you can read it on basically any e-reader, and it's all DRM free, so you can put it on literally any reading app that you want. So that's cool, hopefully. Hopefully you think that's cool. Let's see what else. You can always find the latest episode of VlogaNovel on my website, garrettbrobinson.com. It's all there. I always post it. And you can, if you like watching the show or having it on in the background while you work, but you don't particularly want to read the words as I write them, you can read the book on Wattpad. Find me on Wattpad, Garrett Robinson, and the book will be posted there so that you can read it while I'm creating it. However, while you can read it for free on Wattpad, I would, of course, appreciate it tremendously if you do also buy the book, because I do make my living as an author. This is not just a fun thing that I do. It is a fun thing that I do, and I'm tremendously lucky that I'm able to do it. But I'm only able to do it because people buy the books. So, again, the place to get that is garrettbrobinson.com/NB-1. And I also put the first episode right there on my website so that when you go there, you can just find it and just have it, because it wasn't there. And like 3 people today texted me and they were like, I went to your site, but I couldn't find the new book. What the hell? And I was like, well, that's dumb. So I added it in there. So let's get started here. We are in the outlining process. We worked on the world in the last hour, so now let's go to the characters. So first of all, I'm going to go to the existing characters. Lauren and Zane, who are in episode 1. And we will say what happened to them in episode 1. And I'm only going to add this after the episodes are done. In other words, I have written the outline for episode 2, and that's basically essentially ready to go. But I'm not going to add what's going to happen to them in episode 2. I'm going to add it after it's done, because it basically becomes the show Bible for that character. If you're not familiar with the phrase show Bible, it's something used in television, and it's basically a gigantic, usually binder, that keeps track of all the details. So, for example, if on the TV show Friends, Joey says in one episode, "Oh, my mom is an accountant." Then they put that in Joey's entry in the show Bible so that if Joey's mom's profession ever comes up again, it's in his character sheet, and they know what happened. So I will not only include what each character did in each episode, but specific details about the characters. And some of those details, excuse me, some of those details will go into their character sheets, which I do in Celtics, which is a free script writing program, a fantastic free script writing program, by the way. And I enter them there because Celtics just has fantastic character sheets. So that's why I use that as opposed to something in Scrivener, because it just already exists in Celtics. So it's like I use that. So episode one. Okay, so that's kind of a lengthy summary, but I didn't want to miss any details. So in episode 1, Lauren's summary is that she's a woodsman daughter and chops logs. Her father is cruel and abusive. She spots Zane running through the woods near her village. She pursues him and finds out he's a wizard in a pretty blue coat. She decides to give him supplies to make it to Cabris, the city he's running to, and in exchange she'll go with him. She returns to the village where she tells two constables, Corrin and Byrne, that Zane ran northeast when he's actually southwest. Chet, a village boy who loves her, is slightly suspicious. Her father gets angry that she abandoned her work and hits her in the stomach. Her mother arrives and tells Lauren to get ready for the evening's dance so she can attract a wealthy suitor. Lauren sneaks away instead, stealing a travel sack, her father's smelly travel cloak, 2 water skins, some food, and a very nice and expensive-looking dagger from a chest atop a shelf in her parents' kitchen. She then tells Chet to go pick her dandelions and lilacs for a crown. While he's gone, she sneaks into his house and steals one of his hunting bows and a quiver of arrows. Chet's father arrives and Lauren strikes him unconscious with the bow. Her father then sees her as she leaves the village, and she runs from him. She makes it to Zane before her father catches up. Then they run south for a long time before her father finally finds them. He throttles Zane twice, punches Lauren in her left eye, and kicks her many times in the ribs. She then draws an arrow and shoots him in the leg before they leave. She and Zane make it to the road before sundown and decide to camp by the river. She gives Zane his water skin and some food. When she wakes the next morning, Zane has abandoned her. So this outline is, in some ways, more detailed than the outline that I wrote for the episode before I actually wrote it. And in some ways it's less detailed. It is the perspective of all of the important stuff that happened in the episode, which you can only really get after you've written it. And it contains details that will be important to remember as the thing goes on. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new document called Open Loops, which actually doesn't go in the outlining folder. It's the top document in my research folder. Open loops is basically anything that that is a question that can or should be answered. The first open loop is hideous font. No. Okay, so that's an obvious open loop that already features into the outline that we've created for episode 2. This dagger is really impressive. Where did she get it? What is it? Where did her parents get it? What is its significance? That significance is going to be increased in episode 2 when one of the constables actually lets Lauren go because he sees the dagger. So now we'll do the same thing that we did for Lauren in episode 1. That reminds me. And when you create your open loops document, pretty much anytime you think of an open loop, you should really jump in there and write it down because you will forget. So as soon as I think of something that like, oh, open loop, I jump into the document and I put it down, because if I don't do that, then I'll go on and it's just like, oh, wait, what was that open loop again? Oh, crap. So open loop, what did Zane do that put him on the run from the law? Okay, episode one. So for obviously for everybody except for Lauren, the summaries are going to be much smaller. So Zane is running through the Birchwood Forest when Lauren catches up to him. He's reluctant to take her with him, but without her, he won't have, excuse me, enough supplies to make it to Cabris. She's gone for less than an hour, and when she returns, she has the supplies, but her father is pursuing her. Zane, excuse me again, Zane ditches his pretty blue coat and dons her father's smelly green travel cloak, then runs south with her. When Lauren's father catches them, he throttles Zane twice. Zane is about to roast him with fire, but stops because Lauren begs him to. Lauren shoots her father in the leg, allowing them to escape, and Zane follows her to the road and the river. When they camp by the riverbank for the night, Zane leaves under cover of darkness. That's pretty much all that happened with him in episode one. It's quite simple. So now what we need to do is need to add some new character sheets. Because as always happens, episode one was outlined. Then I wrote it and new people arrived. Chet didn't exist in the episode one outline. The constables weren't going to be in episode one. They arrived in the first draft because I thought, oh, this would be a cool thing that Lauren could do that could establish, yes, she legitimately has a chance at becoming a thief because she can bluff and bullshit her way out of situations. So we need to add, let me just write this down so I don't forget anyone. We need to add Chet constables, Bo, the other village boy, Aisley, Miss Aisley, what was his name? There was a dude she talked about who she was going to miss. Chris with a K. Father and mother. And that's it. Now I'm going to, within the characters folder, I'm going to create minor characters. The reason that I add every character, even the very minor ones, Bo is probably never going to show up in the series again, ever, ever. The only thing is that I don't want to ever add another character named Bo, because that would be confusing to anybody who's read the series. I don't want to ever add anybody named Chris or Aisley either. So I put those names in there so that I have a list of literally all the names in my story so that I don't double up on anybody. So minor characters, let's add Bo. And that's literally all we need for Bo. Miss Aisley. Miss Aisley is a baker in Lauren's home village. We never see her. There you go. Okay, so those are minor characters, and then now we'll pop back up and we'll start adding main characters. First main character I want to add, whoops, Lauren's father, Lauren's mother, Corrin, and Byrne. Those are the constables. Let's see here. What do we want to do? I'm trying to decide who needs to go in the character sheets or in character sheets in Celtics. All right, well, let's just start writing and see what we do. By the way, there's 3 people watching live. If you want to comment on the YouTube page, I should be able to see your comments, unless comments are being weird, and I will answer any questions that you have live on the show. Uh, Kayla, it's not showing. Your comment isn't showing up in the live comments, but Kayla chimed in and said, "My God, man, when do you bloody sleep?" I don't sleep a lot, honestly. Sad truth. Tired a lot. There you go. And that's all the comments. Okay, good. I think that's all we need on him right now. I'm not going to bother casting him at the moment because he's probably not going to show up again for all of season 1, the first 8 episodes. Probably. I say that because these things can always change. Um, and yeah. You know what? Let's pick a name for him because we keep calling him Lauren's father. I don't know if you noticed this, but in episode 1, we never learn his name. He's just her father, and her mother is just her mother. And again, that's a. I mean, I always feel dumb talking about this stuff, but that's a subtextual thing, and it's because she doesn't think of him as a person. She only thinks of Lauren only thinks of him as his role in her life. It oddly, even though she only thinks of him as her father, it's a way of dehumanizing him a little bit and making him less of a person. I always go with Seth, which means dazed in darkness. Damon means to kill. Draven means the crow. I like Draven. I'm going to go with Draven. No, maybe I won't go with Draven. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to comment. Viewers named 2 characters in episode 1, so you could name a character in the book. Damon means to kill. Draven means the crow. Saro means forgotten. Nico means son of the dark. Kuro means black. Kiera, small dark one. Kurai means dark. Do, 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 do. Some wise ass said Adolf Hitler. Let's call him Adolf. Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of really, really like culture specific ones like Ahriman and Abaddon. Seth is pretty good. I really like Draven. Um, I'm gonna go with Draven for now. If you have a better suggestion, chime in the comments, and I will. I'll put it on the list. Draven Nelda. Uh, Simon Canton chimed in with in the comments and said, "Spoilers for Touch Trilogy. Reading Touch at the moment. I knew that Charlie was up to no good." The Touch Trilogy. You know, I'm going to adapt that into my first feature film. I've actually got some friends who are talking about how we can do it. It's. I mean, you know, you're reading it. It's very low budget. There's not a lot of crazy locations, and we think we could do it with, with a lot of favors and whatnot, but we have a whole filmmaking community down here. So as you're reading it, try to think of it as a movie, or don't if you don't feel like doing that. Bipolar type 1 madness. Are you in a manic episode? A manic episode? You mean like the story episode, or am I having a manic episode? Some people say that I'm like on a constant manic episode. So in episode 1, Lauren's father finds Lauren standing looking at the village and threatens to hurt her if she doesn't keep working. He goes off to do some business with the smithy from whom he needs a new axe. When he returns to the chopping block, Lauren is gone again. He searches the village and finds her near the village's east end, talking to two constables. He's infuriated. She abandoned her work again and hits her in the stomach, then tells her to return to the house where he'll teach her a further lesson. Lauren's mother arrives and countermands him, saying Lauren needs to go to the dance. They argue, but Draven gives in and chops the logs himself, his anger mounting. Then he spots Lauren leaving Chet's house in travel clothes with a bow. He chases her north, infuriated, then follows her path around the village in southwest. He finds Lauren with Zane shortly, but stalks them for a while waiting for an opportunity. When Zane stumbles, he attacks. He knocks Lauren to the ground, but then goes after Zane because the man is unknown and potentially dangerous. When Lauren attacks with a dagger, he knocks it from her hand and strikes her repeatedly. He then goes back after Zane to neutralize him and take Lauren back home. But Lauren shoots him in the leg with an arrow, and he's left to find his way home himself. He can't chase them for fear of losing too much blood on the road, and they'll outdistance him anyway. So he actually has a story summary almost as long as Lauren's. And that makes sense. He's a rather important figure in the story, and especially in the first episode. Um, I think I changed my mind. I think I do want to cast him. Oh, bollocks. And I know that some of you are going to be very upset about this, uh, because Mandy Patinkin is just so often just like such a great guy, and we all love Inigo Montoya. But I immediately pictured him as Draven as Mandy Patinkin. Uh, let's find a bearded picture without glasses. Yeah, this will work. Um, by the way, somebody was curious about how I do this. Um, Basically, I go to the character sheet, and then right up here under synopsis, you click on that little index card thing, and there is an image picture, or you can just hit Command 7 if you're on a Mac, and that creates a little black box. And then you go to your Finder, and you find your image file, and you drag it on in there. Boom, the character image shows up. And then when you go back into Scrivener, if you take your whole character folder and you view it as cards, then it'll show up like that, which is just a cool little feature. By the way, I need to change all these icons to. Oh no, no, where is it? There it is, character sheet. Okay. So there's your Draven Nelda. Lauren's mother. I'm sorry, guys. Your comments aren't showing up in the live Google Hangout. Bipolar Type 1 Madness said, let me get these in order first, real quick. Simon said, I'm trying to imagine how you do touching in a movie. I'm thinking it would have to be kind of otherworldly, like the sex scene in Fight Club or the murder scenes in Hannibal, the TV show. Not watching Hannibal. Actually, I made a short film of touch. It was the first short film I ever directed. Unfortunately, the hard drive got corrupted, so I lost it forever, which sucks. But we had actually really cool, very simple special effects for touching. And basically, when she touched this, their skin kind of flashed a little bit, and you did like one of those zoom ins on her pupils, and then you saw the scene that was in the thoughts, but it was all kind of grainy and distorted. Um, it was pretty cool. I quite liked it. And you had the guy's voice kind of in a constant psycho whisper in the background. Um, Bipolar Type 1 Madness said, constant manic episode. Nice, great work. Yes, yes, that's me. And then also said he's amazing in Homeland. He's just amazing. Mandy Patinkin is the best, dude. Love that guy. Let's see, where were we? So Lauren's mother. Ah, yes, I wanted to get a name for her. Names of witches. I saw one under E right away that I really liked. Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West. I kind of like that. There's some other good ones in here. Dahlia, Agatha. I mean, Elphaba is the Wicked Witch of the West. You don't get much more typical than that, or you don't get much more like iconic than that. So I think I'll stick with Elpha for right now. And again, if you guys have suggestions for names of witches or cruel women or anything like that, chime in the comments. I'll consider switching her name. So that's one benefit, by the way, of watching VlogaNovel. Y'all will know that her parents' names are Draven and Alpha, and people who read the book won't know that until like the either much much later in this season or the second season. So yeah, it's like DVD extras, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. So Alpha is helping with preparations for the dance. When she wonders where Lauren is, she goes into the village to find Draven threatening to beat Lauren. She tells Lauren to go get ready for the dance instead, then gets into an argument about it with Draven as Lauren leaves. Again, simple, don't need anything more complicated. And I definitely don't need to cast her because she will not be important for a long, long time. Corrin. No Sleep in Heaven chimed in, said, glad you shortened to Alpha. Elphaba is a very famous name, recognizable to anyone who's read Gregory Maguire or know Wicked the musical, which is most people who know musicals. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's like if you name somebody Glinda, it's like, well, that I mean that's just. But You could name somebody Glind or Linda, or is it Glinda? Isn't that the Good Witch? Anyway, whatever. But yeah, you can't just jack iconic character names necessarily. Um, I mean, some you can get away with. Like there's many famous characters named Jack and Luke, and you can definitely name people Luke. It doesn't necessarily mean they're Luke Skywalker. But when you get into weird names, like not weird, but uncommon names like Elphaba, that's just like, okay, you're just totally jacking that. So yeah, names that are based off of that are a good way to go. So Corrin is a short, stalwart constable who, at the beginning of the series, is pursuing Zane through Selvin. His skin is dark brown, sort of Pacific Islander looking. He's involved in some sort of secret society that places some kind of significance in Lawrence Dagger. Again, these are just things that will be revealed or discovered as the rest of the book goes on. He's generally a pretty nice guy, but he will not tolerate shit when it comes to his job. He will catch Zane and he will bring him to justice because that is his duty. Uh, Actually, you know what? Let me just bollocks. Cast him real quick. Anybody watch the new Hawaii Five-O? Love that show. So good. Da 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 da. Is that him? Yes. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Bum bum ba bum. Um. So Corrin is much. I don't know if if you haven't seen Hawaii Five-O, you don't know that this guy, this actor named Taylor Willy, he's gigantic. By which I mean tall. He's obviously a big dude too, but he is so tall. Corrin is much shorter than that. But this is what he looks like. Ba-da-da-ba-ba-ba. Now the Hawaii Five-O theme song will be stuck in my head forever. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so Corrin and Byrne arrive at the village to find Chet and Bo, who they ask about Zane. The boys haven't seen him, obviously. Lauren arrives and tells Corrin and Byrne that Zane ran northeast. Corrin and Byrne pursue him northeast for some hours without finding any hint of his whereabouts, so they go back to the village where they've tied up their horses and retrieve them, then decide to spend the night in the woods as the sun goes down. Overnight, Draven returns and tells the constables that Zane and Lauren have run away to the road leading to Cabris. Simon chimed in again and said, hopefully you don't mind my completely unrelated question, smiley face. If you couldn't direct, but one of your books was being adapted as a movie, who would you want to direct, and what book would you most like to see as a movie? I don't have a movie that I'd be willing to let anybody else direct. I don't have a book that I'd be willing to let anybody else direct. It's like when Stallone wrote Rocky. He tried to sell it, and he got offers of $500,000 or maybe even $1 million for the script, as long as they could cast a big name actor in it. And he said no. And then finally, they gave him an offer of $15,000, and he could act in it. And he said yes. And I wouldn't ever, I would never give away my directing rights. Directing is actually my first love. Like I get freaking high on it, man. It's nuts how much I love directing. So I would never give away the directing rights to one of my books. That being said, I will try to answer your question in a different frame. That what kind of style would I try to direct one of my books in? Um, I currently would most like to see Rebel Yell as a movie, currently. And actually, I mean, it's all bullshit until money's in the bank, but somebody that I know is talking to a music producer who's very, very big in Nashville and who has money and is a friend of hers and was like, hey, you know, I was thinking about making a movie. And she was like, well, you've got to read this book by my good friend Garrett. And she gave it to him and is going to try to. And she is also this friend of mine is my top pick to play Haley Savage. So she is going to try to get him to produce that. And who knows that that might happen before Touch even did. The only thing is that, like stuff like that happens all the time in the industry. You talk to people, they seem interested, and nothing ever happens. Not only do a minority of people in the industry get to talk to the people who can make a movie happen, but a minority of the times that that happens, do those people elect to do it. Anyway, I would most like to see Rebel Yell, and I would like to see that directed in the style. I would attempt to direct that in the style of P.T. Anderson, where it's extremely thoughtful and thought provoking and beautiful and contemplative and takes its time and and deals with things not always with solemnity, but with gravity. I really like. I mean, everybody likes P.T. Anderson, so I don't feel like I'm taking a bold stance there, but that's my stance. So I would go for a P.T. Anderson style of directing if I were to do Rebellion. Um, Corrin, so that's Corrin. Byrne is a tall, muscular constable. Okay, so Byrne is a tall, muscular constable who is pursuing Zane at the beginning of the series. He's deathly pale and gaunt and taller than most other men. He's got a cruel streak. One of the reasons he's a constable is definitely the occasional chance to plant his fist in someone's face. He's still quite duty-driven, though. He's got the exact same episode 1 story as Corrin, so that's easy. Just copy-paste. The last two people that we need to create character sheets for are the merchant and her daughter, who are main who are major characters in episode 2. So the merchant casting is super easy. No, you know what? Let's make an effort here. Let's start paying attention to things that we care about, which is I did a fucking craptastic job in the first episode of my normal female male ratio, which I always try to keep at 50-50 and totally didn't. And also including ethnicities, backgrounds, people of different cultures, etc., etc. So this is the longest haired image of her I can find. Um, this is a little bit young, honestly, but she's the first girl that I thought of. And anybody who's been watching all of VlogaNovel will remember that she's also my main character in Simulator. So yeah, I really like. If you haven't seen Beasts of the Southern Wild, I mean, there's a reason it was nominated for an Academy Award. It's really good. I'm trying to decide how to deal with. I'm trying to decide. One thing that I need to decide is how to deal with race um, in this story. Not particularly in this story or in this world. Like for example, this is in addition to being a fantasy serial that I'm really liking, and I'm really liking the story idea of Lauren. This is also world building for my big epic fantasy series that I want to do, which is called Quest. And in Quest, the main characters are all people who have already been around the block. They're like Lauren in 5 or 10 years. Um, so to them, it's nothing unusual. And what I'm trying to decide is when Lauren sees people of color, is that shocking to her? She's grown up in a village all her life with a pretty, narrow gene pool, and and you know, are there any people of color in that village? Um, does she know that that's a thing? I mean, she saw Corrin, the constable, in the first episode and didn't think it was, and there was no reaction there. But he could have just been, I don't know, really tan. I honestly don't know. Would she think there was anything remarkable about it? Um, there is a sort of, there's a sort of, I don't know, uh, childlike innocence to people who have only lived one type of lifestyle and around one type of person their whole life, and then go out and see other places and other people and other cultures and everything. So I need to determine at the same time, I don't want that to be the main focus of the story, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's a decision I kind of need to make, and I might just wait to make it until I reach the story, until I reach that point in the story. Um, there's a funny story about a girl who I grew up with, and when she was 3, she went with her mom to work or like the DMV or something like that, and they were sitting in reception or like a waiting room, and there was an African American gentleman sitting right next to the two of them, and this girl who like practically my sister, like we've literally grown up together in the same house, and uh, and she was like 2 years old, and she was staring at the guy and just staring and staring and staring at the guy, and her mom was like, "Oh God, she's staring at him because he's black," and she was just like, I mean, you know how 2 year olds are. She was like, "Please don't say anything, please don't say anything, please don't say anything," um, and finally, this girl just goes, "Mommy, his hands are so pink." Like that was the only thing that she'd noticed. It, and I mean, I think that says a lot in terms of what what like the completely innocent mind notices and focuses on, um, is that she didn't see that his skin was a different color. That's not what she focused on. She focused on that his hands were a different color from the rest of him. In other words, it wasn't that his skin color is different from mine. It was that his hands are different than his arms and everything. And actually, you know what? That is a good I like that story. I've always liked that story and what it says about kids and the innocence of people who weren't raised to have an opinion on it one way or another. So I am going to have that be a thing when she does meet them. Not that she's going to say that because she's got more sense than that. She's 15. She's not a 2 year old, but that can be it can be unusual for her, and she can focus on but she can focus on that rather than like you know on anything else. So the merchant. Uh, a female name meaning wise for the merchant. Athena, obviously. Knew that was going to happen. Ooh, Reina is a good name. I like that. Benna, Egeria. Boy, there's a lot of awesome girl names meaning wise. Sage, Reina, Kaya, Egeria, Benna. I would be happy with literally any of these. Adiba means cultured or refined. I like that one. Marcella. Damaris, an educated woman who heard Paul speak at Mars Hill. Damaris. Okay, I like that for now. Again, if you have any suggestions, they are always welcome. Okay, so Damaris is a successful merchant who makes even more money by smuggling illegal items, such as silks, between kingdoms who have embargoes in place. She travels with a caravan and visits all of the 9 kingdoms at one time or another. She's not cruel, but neither is she overly kind. She looks after herself and her family first. She freely provides passage for Lauren to Cabris, but when the constables begin to search her wagons, Damaris gives Lauren up in order to save her own business. So this is like Lauren shows up, and it's very unexpected. Um, but Damaris is just like, oh, well, okay, come along in the caravan. I mean, there's no reason not to give you passage. Um, and so she lets her come along with her, and she's cool. She's hanging out with her, but there's that air of reservation about her. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like it's that thing where you're just totally chilling and being friendly with somebody, but you don't let them in, and you don't get too friendly with them because you know you might have to drop them at a moment's notice, and she does at the end. So that's a quick summary of Damaris's character. Merchant's daughter. Okay, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we're going to do this, and then we're done with the episode 2 outline, guys. Yay! Lucasta means pure light. I like that. Zakaya is Hebrew for pure. It sounds very specifically cultured. Adara is noble. Hmm. Anise means pure. Catlin means pure. I like anise. And it seems like it could be etymologically related to Damaris. Like I could see those coming from the same culture. Okay, so we'll go with anise for now. Again, feel free to chime in on the comments, but I am going to start writing the first draft in the next hour, so time is limited, guys. Okay, time's up. Okay, Annis is a wide-eyed, slightly chubby, physically inept, but very bright girl. Damaris is her mother. When Annis meets Lauren, she just thinks she's the coolest person in the world. She, like most people, thinks Lauren's eyes are just the best. When she hears about Lauren's goals, which sound like an epic heroic story to her, she decides she wants to come too. This, of course, is a terrible idea, and Lauren tells her so, and then abandons her. And that is what we need to know about Annis. So, um, that is going to be it for episode 2. I'm going to copy the paragraphs in real quick to the individual chapters. Chapter 1. Chapter 2. 3. 4. And 5. Okie dokes. So that's ready to go. Guys, next hour, which I'm probably going to start after a quick break for a smoke. Next hour, we're going to start writing the first draft, and we'll probably finish the first draft tomorrow, which will give a couple of days for editing and plenty of time for the release. So, speaking of the release, once again, if you want to pre-order this book, the link is in the blue description portion of the screen right below my face, garrettbrobinson.com/nb-2. If you haven't read the first episode, none of this is going to make sense. I imagine you wouldn't be watching this if you haven't at least become familiar with the first episode, because this is all probably very confusing if you don't know what's happened in the story this far. But if you do want to get the first episode and you haven't yet, also in the blue section, garrettbrobinson.com/nb-1 for Nightblade episode 1. You can always find the next episode of VlogaNovel by following my website, garrettbrobinson.com, or subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. The first draft, as it gets written, will be posted on Wattpad, so that if you like watching the process happen but don't really want to read the words on the screen as I write them on YouTube, which I completely understand, you can read it for free on Wattpad. However, if you're going to do that, it would mean a lot to me if you would also buy the book, because I am a professional author, and it is very difficult to make a living doing something if nobody buys what you're doing. So if you read the book on Wattpad, which, by the way, episode 1 is free on Wattpad, if you read it there, feel free to purchase it if you enjoy it. And if you read it on Wattpad and you're like, this is not for me, I completely understand. But if you read the whole thing, tossing me a buck would be fantastic. Each episode's only a buck. I mean, you can't beat that. You can beat that, but not with me and these episodes. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Simon, No Sleep in Heaven, Bipolar Type 1 Madness, and that was everybody. Thank you so much for your live comments and your contributions to this story. I will see you very soon when we will start writing the first draft of Nightblade Episode 2. And until then, bye.